let's move on to talk about Daniel Radcliffe. Tom, is this the most ungrateful little shit in...
Yeah, well, he's so as everyone will know, or maybe they don't follow these things as close as I feel compelled to. But the Potter kids, they're not kids anymore, but the stars of the Harry Potter films, in recent years have made their feelings known about JK Rowling's views on transgender issues, by which I mean they've basically joined the pylon against her quite publicly, really collaborated in that fiction that she is some sort of hate monger and whatever. And Daniel Radcliffe gave an interview to IndieWire this week, in which he said he thought it was quite very important the stand that he personally had taken against JK Rowling. And I think it's just, first of all, it's just the pomposity of that position is quite funny. I mean, you would have thought that he was, facing down the cops at Selma or something. And what he did was he joined a pylon against a woman who he personally owes a lot to, and also someone who the most she's ever said about the gender issue is that biological sex exists, and it's probably not a great idea to have male-bodied people in rape crisis centres. Yeah. That's essentially the extent of it. And yet acting as if she was some sort of hate-mongering bigot. But yeah, there is an element to you just think, let's face it, whether we're talking about the one who played Harry or the one who played Ron or the one who played Hermione, it's an assemblage of quite ropey talents. Yeah. And yet their desire to denounce the woman to whom they own everything over quite spurious grounds is pretty striking. But not to get too caught up on the generational thing, but it is interesting how some of the older stars of that franchise, Ralph Fiennes, late Robbie Coltrane, took a completely different perspective. So you do see that there is clearly kind of a generational aspect to this changing values.
Yeah, and also I just think, what's it got to do with you, Daniel? She is like a grown woman, expressing her views on what is a very live and real debate. The way that he really personalised it, that he's spoken to all these kids and he just felt that there was something he needed to say. It's just so self-indulgent, so self-centred. And as you said, she is really has never said anything that controversial. She's, I mean, some people perceive it as controversial, but she's been saying things that are widely held amongst the population. I'm sure many Harry Potter fans as well. Yeah. And it is this very, the way that so many of those younger actors have always see the fans as these almost children, and that in this very kind of infantilized way that they have to be the savior for. And I think that it really just shows that he's ungrateful to someone that is really responsible for his entire career.
I'm just obsessed with this need to denounce people.
Compulsion. And it's so strange as well, because to be on the right side of history, like they feel this need to say, I have to stake out this claim, it's so important, all the rest of it. But what are they doing on the right side of history over there? They're joining a pylon against a woman who's being bombarded with death and rape threats left, right and centre for basically just sticking up for women's sex-based rights. That's the right side of history. But that is the world we live in, unfortunately.